We're gonna end it with this one's a bit of an interesting one. Should we do this one? What was he saying? Oh yeah, this is I think he's sticking to Harland Williams. I think Brendan here, Harland Williams, his podcast. He mentioned something about not looking back. I think I think Harlan asked him about his regrets. I think that's what it is. It's a clip about his regrets. Introspection of the clip here from the Find the Kid subreddit. He tries to be introspective, but obviously can't handle it. I also find it very interesting. Maybe it's just me, or maybe because I'm watching too much Brendan material. But don't you guys find it weird when people are like, when people say stuff like, "I'd never look back," because people that say that stuff like that are also kind of people that don't have. I'm not saying you should be hanging out with your fucking high school friends and shit, but they don't speak to any of those people in their lives at all. They're just completely like isolated from everybody, and they suddenly got this new group of friends that they kind of call their best friends, but it has no ties to the old ones, and also they don't have any stories. That's the thing that's weird about Brendan always. He doesn't really have any stories about people he kind of grew up with, like outside of just the comedy people that he knows. You don't hear him talking about someone that I went to school with, this guy, that. Nah, it's all just like comedy people. That's all consumed his life, which is really bizarre. But I don't know, something always tells me there's something off about someone that's like, I never look back. It's like, I'm not telling you to be like a nostalgia dreamer, but having some recollection of where you came from and what it was like, and maybe some dear memories is pretty healthy. But I never look back, I only look forward. You take steps backwards, all that sort of shit. It's just weird. But anyway, let's continue.
Biggest regret I have, I mean, I never look back too much on my past.
I like that.
Regrets.
You don't want to, right?
No.
It's the fighter in you. You keep going, but
I like how everyone keeps relating everything that he does to fighting. That's actually looking up like, oh my god, please, not again.
Fight. I guess the one thing, as far as regrets go, it's a good product, and I appreciate the people that support it. But I remember, and you'll know this, doing comedy. When I was doing comedy maybe 2 years when I got my first major special.
Oh yeah.
So Showtime asked me to do a special. Yeah. I remember I called Rogan, I called Callen, and I was asking Dilly and Theo, my close friends, and they're like, "Don't do it, man. Everyone waits about 10 years. There's a reason for that."
Oh wow.
And I was like, "Oh, they're just haters. They're mad." They didn't, which wasn't the case.
No,
they
that
were trying to
wasn't the
protect
case.
me.
Yeah.
They're like, no. There's no reason to. Just keep working. You're doing great. There's no reason to put this out right now. I was like, oh, they're just haters.
No.
And then I thought, then you do it. And
you know what's funny about this clip? There's not a moment where he says, I fucked up my ego. Like, he doesn't even try to be introspective, like, oh, my ego is too crazy. I can't believe I thought that. But just imagine the hubris and the arrogance on somebody who's 2 years into comedy, gets offered a special off the back of their skin. That special wasn't a bad idea from Showtime. I understand it, because in Showtime's case, they're betting that he's a kind of a protege, right? He's somehow this kind of freak of nature who can bypass all the common steps that comedians have to go through in order to become successful. He's somehow the anomaly. That could happen. Who knows? But also, they gave him the special because of his fame. At that time, he had a very popular podcast. He was very well known, associated with the UFC, associated with Joe Rogan. It would make financial sense to give him a Showtime special. And I'm sure on Showtime's end of things, with the numbers and the views, they probably recouped whatever they gave him investment. I'd imagine. That's why they gave him another contract. They're like, oh, this guy generates views. Little did they know, a lot of the views weren't coming from a good place, right? The kind of people like hate watching him and stuff. But I don't think Showtime were bad for opening the deal. It was him. He should have not took the deal. But I like how he's spinning it and saying that they were trying to protect him, when really it was his ego that wasn't allowing him to basically understand that his friends who were, again, this is a guy that's 2 years into comedy, thinks that guys like Chris D'Elia, at the time he was non-cancelled, Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, and Bryan Callen, two of those guys are like got 40 plus years experience, 20 years each, and he thinks they're hating on him. Imagine the hubris you'd have to have, the arrogance, the entitlement, the lack of self-awareness that you think those four guys are only there to tell you not to do it because they're hating on you, because they think you've got that, what you don't deserve. They should have a special. It's like, huh? Didn't Rogan at the time have a special on Netflix? Wasn't Chris D'Elia doing stuff with like TV? Like, wasn't he on that show with that fucking Whitney or something? Wasn't Theo Vaughn on the way to bubbling up? Bryan Callen's already doing this thing. Why would they be jealous of you? Maybe you're selling tickets, but the Showtime special is not that big of a deal for other comedians that have got deals already. It's like, what? God almighty, insane.
And then I thought, people would realize that I was the fastest ever to get a major network special 2 years in, which is insane.
Yeah.
And I thought
that's a bit of a humble brag, to be honest. 2 years in, oh my God.
people would realize that, man, only 2 years in was able to do an hour, and this was, as for doing it 2 years, pretty good. No. When you do that, you're entering the big leagues.
Yeah,
It's Showtime. So you're there with the Sebastian had a special on Showtime.
Yeah.
Eric Griffin, Burrs on HBO.
Like seasoned guys that have been doing it 20 years.
Yeah. And that they were just trying to protect me.
Yeah.
He honestly thought doing a special after 2 years, even if it wasn't good, people would give him the benefit of the doubt that he's only 2 years in. And they don't understand that. What? That doesn't even happen in fighting. If somebody gets into the octagon and fights somebody, but they've not got that much experience, but the UFC just signed them for whatever reason, they still get judged the same way everyone else gets judged. There is no like, oh yeah, you're only a couple of years in. Like, you get judged the same way because you're in the same fucking octagon. If you're on this level, you should be good. If you're not good, then we're gonna tease the fuck out of you. Like, this guy is insane, man. Wow, I'd love to think like that. Like, he legitimately didn't think anything was wrong with doing a special the way that he did it of that scale after only being in the comedy for 2 years. And this is not 2 years like, he's like doing fucking, pedal to the metal, like fucking shows every day, every state, just going everywhere, performing in car parks, in hotels, doesn't matter, just getting reps and sets in all the time. No, he was performing in front of his own crowd. He's essentially at the time he was doing T-Fat-K lives, essentially, and also his own little shows, but just in front of his own crowd. That's what he was doing. That's the only experience he had to perform in front of. Whew.
They were. I
that's
can
all right.
honestly back that up.
Yep.
But the other side of it, Brendan, is how do you say no? Like, imagine if
That's where I
Joe
was.
Rogan 2 years in, or me, or anyone, they said, hey, we want to, you're too new to not know that it's probably the wrong move. You're like, oh my God, this will propel me.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that. I think it's okay for Joe Rogan and those guys not to do it because at the time they didn't probably have enough comedic peers and people around them to tell them, hey, don't do that. But if you're Brendan and you're this new and this green and those vets have gone through what they've gone through and have seen all the pitfalls of people's successes and whatnot, you should probably listen to them. Like, they probably would do it because at the time they probably have the information or whatever it may be. And still then I don't think it would have been the case. But especially if you're like coming up new, as Brendan did, he has no reason to take that deal straight away. He should be, what you think? He should be deferring to the more experienced people and asking for their opinion, really and truly. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
It's like in anything. Like,
And I always learn the hardest way.
Yeah.
Like, and they know that. With anything, it's like I have to learn the way I learn, and
You gotta learn.
taking the toughest road.
It's like if they
That's not good though, isn't it? Just learn the normal way though. You didn't have to do that. That's the thing I think as well that's really odd about this whole thing. Is like, if anything, that yes, it was good in terms of the money, in terms of the profile. It probably boosted him and allowed him to change his flipping way of life forever and ever. But reputational wise, you could argue he hasn't ever recovered from You'd Be Surprised. The damage that is done to his fucking, artistic talents or potential, or his body of work is quite irreversible if you think about it. I think I remember hearing somebody I forgot who it was. It was some sort of R&B singer. I think maybe it was SZA or somebody. Yeah, I think it might have been SZA. I think she said something like the interviewer asked SZA like, because SZA's known for like, not dropping leaks early, taking really long with albums, and just kind of keeping her fans like, not really fed in terms of music. Like, when it comes out, but it takes a while to come out. In this age, maybe not a while in real time, but it takes a while, right? And I think she said something along the lines of like, I plan to be around for a long time, but music lasts forever. I don't want anything on my catalog that I'm not going to be willing to stand behind in 20 years. I want stuff that's legit. So I'm not going to put anything out until I know it's good, like legit. That's the only way I'm going to go with this stuff. So, because they know, like a bad song is not going to be in a discography forever, especially a really terrible one. So with specials, I think it's the same thing. So with Brendan Schaub, no matter what he does going forward, everyone's always going to remember You'd Be Surprised because of how bad it was, how like categorically, subjectively, objectively, generally overall terrible it was, and that stink can never go away. So in one sense you get opportunity to change your life forever and ever in terms of monetary gain, but artistically, creatively, you kind of corrupt yourself, and if anything, maybe even the comedians around you never look at you the same again because they think, why would you even take that deal? Do you know what I mean? You're 2 years in. Why do you think you're that good? It's a strange thing to kind of do, in my opinion, because it could be even argued. I know some people have said differently, but I don't really see much difference between Gringo Pappy and You'd Be Surprised. I think Gringo Pappy may be better because it's shorter, but I think if he did release the 1 hour cut, because BGL said he actually, this is a funny thing, BGL revealed on one of those podcasts that the Gringo Pappy is actually 1 hour long, but Brendan actually purposely cut it to 30 minutes to fit that narrative that he has going on about some Netflix person telling him, oh, people only watch the first 28 minutes of a special. So I thought, oh, you know, logical brain, 1 + 1 = 2. Let me cut 25 minutes out of it and put that up. People are definitely going to watch it. You know, whatever. Redacted this. But still, I don't really see much difference between You'd Be Surprised and Gringo Pappy in terms of quality of jokes. I think if Gringo Pappy was 1 hour long, the same way that You'd Be Surprised was, people would definitely see that there's hardly any difference. So it's not even like he's improved in those years in between. So if he put that first special out and it was terrible, then he waits, I don't know, 6, 7 years, like 4 years, over it is, to put Gringo Pappy out, and it's still trash. He just maybe never had it. But it's the same guy that was probably thinking Rogan and stuff were hating on him. Wild.
He said for your second fight, hey, we know you're new, kid, but we want to put you in against Chuck Liddell. Yep. Would you go no? Probably not.
Yeah.
Maybe you would, but
no, I'd say
I
no.
wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd probably say no, or hopefully my management team would be like, you're not ready for that.
Right.
You know?
But
as far as the business-wise, everyone around me is like, yeah, this is great for you. But the real comics who I respect so much and idolize, they're like, no, there's no upside. You're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Your tours, keep doing that. There's no reason. There's no rush.
You know what the upside of it is, though? Even though you maybe stepped on a little landmine, you learned a lot from it. But the upside is you came out the other side and you know that those guys are your buddies.
Correct.
They're your friends.
Yep.
They weren't doing it out of jealousy or spite.
100%.
They were looking out for you.
Yep.
So that's got to be a good feeling.
Yep.
And you learn from it.
Yep.
So when you do your next special, it's like you went from this level. It's all step.
Man, this guy's really nice. Who the hell is this? Brendan doesn't deserve to be talking to somebody so nice like this. He's fucking lovely. What a nice thing to end it with. Well, how positive and well-meaning and mannered and just, you know, just generally nice that was that you said that, right? Like, you know, I don't actually agree, you know, because I think you couldn't, those guys are still his friends regardless, but the fact that he took that good thing out of it is pretty nice of him, isn't it, to say that. Those guys are actually your friends. They actually didn't mean any harm. No, he didn't say protect, but they legitimately were looking out for your best interest. Not protect you as if like you're some fucking baby. But that's actually lovely from him, isn't it? What an absolutely nice gentleman. Brendan has the weirdest people around him, innit? Really weird. He has these leechy clout demons around him. Then he also has people like this around him also. It just doesn't make any sense. But I think it's LA and everyone kind of just bounce off each other to kind of get some clout, get some eyes on their stuff and whatnot, and help them kind of feed their families. So I guess it is what it is, isn't it? But yeah. Big up what you call it thing called? Big up what's his name? Big up, I think is it HARLAND Williams or something? I think his name is HARLAND Williams or something.